Hey members, welcome back. Okay, I'm excited to do this cuff again for you. We talked about it in live stream this weekend. So to make this cuff, I used 10 gauge wire, 5.5 inches. I hammered it out to 4 millimeters wide, and then I put texture on it. All of that grew the cuff bracelet to 5 3/4 inches. So almost a size 6, or what I would say might be a size 6. I'm going to wrap my gemstone on it using 18 gauge round soft copper wire, and I have 12 inches of it. I'm going to use a garnet gemstone. It's a cabochon. It has a flat back, but it's faceted up top. And it's about 8 millimeter by 6 millimeter. So here's the very center of my cuff, and that's where I hope to land that gemstone. I'm going to come over about 1 inch, and actually, my marks have rubbed off, but while you're on your board, I'll just go ahead and realign everything. And this is all I did to get my center to my cuff after I bent it up. And I'll take my marker and I'll mark, 1 inch to the right here where this line is, and 1 inch to the left where this other line is. Oop. So I just took these 2 lines here and made marks on the cuff, and then my center marks are there in the middle. All right, and that'll just help guide me a little bit, or it'll help you guys actually too follow me. So I have 12 inches of 18 gauge round. I'm going to give the end of it 3 inches, and I will start at my first mark right there. It doesn't have to be totally exact. Hold everything real steady. I'm coming in at a slant, and then I'm taking the long end and I'm making a complete round. Before I tap it down, I'll just come down here and make sure I'm on my mark. I'll use pliers, and I'll help tap that down pretty tight right there. I'll continue this right over the bar. And this is really thick wire, so it'll scooch despite the fact that you tapped it. And it might be helpful to tap it each time you go around the cuff. So I'm going to do some scrolling. So I'll put my finger right there, get a nice curve. You could be doing this in 18 gauge wire as well. Once I get a nice curve that I like, I'm going to hold it right there with my thumb and brace it. Take the wire, come all the way around the cuff, and tap it down. And then come back onto the cuff just like that. I'll come off the cuff, and right here I'm going to go ahead and make a little spiral. It'll be tough to do, so kind of, you've got it backwards C and then a frontwards C. I'll tap that. And I'm right there up against the mark of my stone. So I'm just going to make that a little more narrow. And I'm right up there, I'm kind of slanting off right there at the mark of my stone. So I'll hold it right there and I'll just make a curve. Just enough that I feel my gemstone can fit in there. That's pretty good. Make it about the size of your gemstone, right? And make it so that your gemstone sits on the cuff. at that center mark. And you know, the whole thing still slides a little bit maybe, so always double check where you're at. It's a little squirrely, but you can do it. Just hold on to it flat against the bar and come around it and come above a little bit. Just like your coiling technique that we do, but we're just going to use this single wire. Stay above the previous wire. I'm going to go around one more time and get even a little more to the inside and close up some gaps a little bit in this cup, in this spring coil. And that looks really, really good there. 2 solid coils. And then I'm going to come around for a half, staying on top. That looks really good. And now my wire is going this way, so I'm going to come off the cuff. So hold on to your entire gemstone bezel and slant, you know, just like we do kind of in midway, but you don't need to go sharp. Just slant off the cup, I mean, and then push it back and behind to catch the bar. You can gently give a little tap, helps settle that a little bit. The gemstone should be very secure in there. I'll continue this wire over. I've got my finger on top. I'll continue the wire over and back down onto the bracelet. All right, and then down here, after I press that really tight, I'll just hold it with my thumb and swing off the bracelet. Try to make a lovely little curve right there. And then right here, you can hold it with your thumb. Come around the bar. Your hands might get tired if you're using 16 gauge like I am. It's getting a little hard to make these turns because every turn hardens up the wire a little bit. And then I'll just make a nice ending for it right there. And it's a little bit off, but that's okay. You know, this curve is probably a little bigger than this curve, but I'm okay with that. And then I'm going to end it by doing a 360 wrap around this bar, so I'll hold it right there. Get all the way around it. Get it sitting nicely. Come around that last time. And then we can end in a little curl up here on top, same as over here. Okay, so I'll just start a little curve to kind of eyeball my curl. I would say that's 3/4 of an inch total round. This is about a 1/2 inch. And rather than a round nose, I'm just going to take my chain nose plier, get to the end of this, make a nice tight spiral, and I'm going to snip off that inside wee bit to open it up and just make it look a little nicer. So I always sacrifice that little tip so that I can snip it off and I have something to hold on to. So here also I'm just going to do a pre-bend to eyeball my curve, take the cut, take my chain nose, get a really good grip on it, and make a super tight, small and cute spiral inward. And then because my pliers are very finely tipped, I can snip it out and have a nice curve, and that's pretty good. It's not too uneven, right? I was only a couple of millimeters off on both sides, and then you can just make some touch-ups with pliers here if you need to. Try not to give yourself marks to sand off, but we do have to sand this whole thing. So just tap everything. I like to use my metal pliers because I get a better grip on that wire on the bottom and it lands flat, right? So prevents it from sliding around. Sometimes nylon jaws don't quite do it for you. So now you can do another wire if you want to, or you can just leave this as is and enjoy it. It's very pretty. It'll be really pretty once it's all patinaed up. And if you need to rework the curve at all, you can do that. Check these ends and make sure that they're laying down, the heads of those spirals. If they're not, you can just press them. And if you need to, you can smack them with a rubber mallet. And then you can do some sanding also to shave the edge down. But usually just a few love taps will do it. So that I'll get some sanding sticks. I'll get maybe a 1000 stick or an 800 if I have a lot of marks. And I'll make sure that that little end is nice and clean, and everywhere that I press down. And you can just do these swirls and curls, you know, any which way. I showed you kind of a symmetrical way, but you could go back with another smaller, you know, maybe 20 gauge and just do whimsical vines and trace these big wires. See, this one got a little wide. It's off the cuff a little bit, but I'll just squeeze it down and adjust some things, and I'll give it a little smack with the rubber mallet, and I'll cinch this up a little tighter and just to help it work down. It's okay that it's off the cuff slightly there. It's not too bad. But just so long as your gemstones ends up in the middle of the bracelet is more the concern. And then you want to make sure that these wires right here are nice and snug. You know, it has a little flex there, so you want to make sure that it isn't ever going anywhere. If you need to burnish, you can burnish either with a burnishing tool or a very clean round nose plier. Not, you know, the edges, but just the nice round side. Just burnish, rub metal on metal. Avoid anything but the round part. Like, don't strike it with the squares or these edges, because then you'll scratch your wire, but that'll significantly harden that up. If you just go through and do some burnishing on some selected wires, right around the cup here. This upper coil. You'll be able to feel it literally. Just be real careful you don't scratch anything with the plier or with your burnishing tool. Burnishing tool is probably going to be a little safer because it won't have any little edges here, but you know, be careful not to slip and take that across your gemstone. So anyway, that's what you can do to harden some things up. You know, you might have the bracelet on your bracelet mandrel, your wooden mandrel, or you know, somewhere where you might be able to control it if it's hard for you to hold while you're cleaning it up like this. All right, and that's it. Woo, that's beautiful, and it feels real good. So then you can reshape if you need to. Shouldn't be too bad, and it'll be gorgeous once it's all polished and patinaed up. Make sure that your gem's sitting, you know, on the actual cup. Boy, that burnishing really took care of the motion. All right, you guys, I'm going to go patina some of these up, and then I'll show them to you when I get back. Okay, here we go, you guys. They turned out beautifully. I've patinaed them. I've taken them under, I've done patina, I've done polish, and I actually went through and did the sealant too. I gave them a very high polish because I like copper highly polished. No other reason other than preference. But I hope you enjoyed that. These make a lot of fun. I have several different sizes. The 5.5 inches I told you to cut originally, when hammered out, might grow to 6 inches. I think I spoke wrong. So it might go to 5 3/4. It might go to 6 inches, depending on how much you actually stretch the wire when you hammer it. So that's about these sizes right here. So 5.5 inches should make, I'm a bracelet size 6, and this is just a wee bit big for me. I would sell it like this, and then, they can always squish it in a little bit. Okay? If you add inches and say you start out with a size 6 inches for this starting length, or even 6.5, after that's hammered out, it'll give you more like a size 7 bracelet, or 7.5 even. So anyway, I deliberately put a curve in this one just to be a little bit fancy. So I hammered a curve in it, and then I made the arms go back, so I kind of have a little wavy look for this one. So that's another way that you can do it when you hammer them out. Cause a very deliberate curve on the bracelet, right? And a wave back down on both sides to be. All right, you guys, so I hope you love these. And these just, are my most favorite size. They're kind of universal, but you can get size 6s, size 7s, and that should fit most people. I wouldn't, you can go smaller to maybe fit a really tiny wrist, or to do kids, or you can go probably just a little bit bigger than this to do men's cuffs, maybe. All right. So, all right, you guys, I hope you love that. Please give me a thumbs up and or a comment, and let me know if you enjoyed this project. And if you make any of these, please look me up on social media and tag me if you make them, so I can see your beautiful work. I appreciate you always for being here and for being a part of this membership. All right, you guys, much love. We'll see you again soon.